why shouldn't she have had that authority over her own body?
It's not that she shouldn't have had the authority to request a procedure. There's a massive amount of misinformation that's been emanating out from our shores and abroad, that somehow or other that an abortion would have saved Savita's life. I mean, the tragedy of Savita's life is something that isn't lost upon people who value human life. And you know, those of us who do value human life, both before and after birth, very much regret the tragic events that happened in Galway. But what I would say very clearly is that there's absolutely no indication in this country at this time that Savita's life would have been saved by access to abortion. And you know, the inquiries will obviously
right there, because regardless of whether it would have been, you can't really say. I know that they're setting up an investigation to see, but the fact is she requested the procedure and was denied the procedure. So she was denied it, and it was something that she wanted. I mean, those are the facts you can't get around, right, Sean?
Well, we don't know if they're the facts yet, because, you know, all we've had is kind of second and third hand reports. But what we do know is that if the clinicians who were involved in her care, they would have made a decision as to whether or not the terminating the pregnancy at that time was going to be would lead to an improvement in her condition or not. And if it's a case that she has this infection, that, I mean, Savita died from septicemia. She didn't die from pregnancy. So it was very likely that, and this has been reported in the papers, it was very likely that an earlier delivery of the child, whether the child was viable or not, would not actually have saved her life.
Sarah, is this a matter of malpractice and not a matter of pro-choice?
No, absolutely not. I mean, doctors are in an impossible situation. I would refute the speaker's earlier points. You have a number of articles by doctors coming up all over the place saying that they feel themselves they are in an impossible situation. On the one hand, they have the Supreme Court ruling, but on the other hand, the 1861 Act, which criminalises abortion and those who help women to get it. And it's just an absolutely impossible situation for doctors. And also, we do know for sure that Savita requested a termination. Her and her husband requested several times that the fetus be terminated. And like, it's described as her friends that she begged for a termination, but she was refused it by doctors. Savita's cervix was left open for over 80 hours. Any doctor will tell you that this dramatically increases the risk of infection, which is what Savita died from. Had the termination been carried out days before when it should have been, there's an extremely high chance that it would have saved her life. And I refute the earlier speaker's claims that it's not clear.
Michael Nugent, this shouldn't be of surprise, right? Because in 2010, the European Court of Human Rights said that this was likely to happen because no law had followed after the Supreme Court decision about case X. Is that right, Michael?
Yeah, well, what the European Court of Human Rights said is that there is a right to abortion in Ireland if the life of a woman is at risk. But that because the government had refused to legislate for so long, that a woman cannot vindicate that right because there's no procedure for her to determine whether or not she qualifies for it. So when Savita said that she wanted an abortion, because of the lack of legislation, there was no mechanism for her to find out whether or not she was legally entitled to it or not. And as an aside, even if she hadn't died and even if her life hadn't been at risk, it was disgraceful that she had to be put through 3 days of that agony and pain and suffering.
Our online community is agreeing with you, Michael. I have a tweet here from Steve. He said, so many men arguing about something they'll never experience. I also have a tweet here from Matt. He's saying Ireland will only change these laws with approval from within Rome. There's no room for this kind of death in 2012. So Colette, I want to pose that question to you. Would you agree? I mean, is the government of Ireland waiting for some kind of go-ahead from the Vatican itself?
No, I wouldn't say that. What's happening at the moment is that after the European Court of Human Rights delivered that verdict that the Irish state had breached a woman's human rights in not having a guideline or a formula for her to determine a right to an abortion, the government convened an expert group to examine its options. Now that